So, what did the Chicago Bears do last year to bring some pass rush to the defense? They swung big on Montez Sweat, right? Another question. Are they willing to do it again? Should they do it again? Because they've also got some other concerns. They need a safety. They need a defensive end. We need a center. So all that, let's just chop this up and let's first go to defensive end. And that's according to ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler. The Bears are very high on Minnesota Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter. He's set to hit the free agent market this March, and Fowler listed the Bears as the leaders for services, along with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the main tie has been with the Bears. So let's look at who he is as a player. He's been with the Vikings for 9 years. Over this time, the Bears have gotten to know him quite well. I would think so. The Vikings grabbed him in the third round out of UCLA, and he's been great from them right from the start. How great? 4 Pro Bowls with a second team selection in 2018. And in 5 of his last 8 seasons, he's gotten more than 10 sacks with a highlight of 16 and a half just this last year. That might make him expensive. On top of that, he had 23 tackles for loss. That's tied for best in the league. That's Max Crosby territory. That's who he's tied with. His career number is 87 and a half sacks. That's the 7th most in the NFL since the start of the 2015 season. He struggled with some injuries. He sat out the 2020 season with a neck injury and half of the 2021 year with a torn pec. Since then, he's played full seasons the last 2 years. Now look at us. We've got some cap space, right? With cutting Eddie Jackson and Whitehair, we'll be looking at north of about $63 million in space. Throw in signing Jalen Johnson to a new deal or probably tag him. And we have the ability to make one huge signing in free agency of a marquee talent. And should this be where we make the huge swing? Is this the one to pull the trigger on? Jeremy Fowler, he once again thinks so. Can't talk. He thinks so. Jeremy's on board. But should this need to be addressed in the draft with Dallas Turner or Latu? I have some other players to keep in mind, so that'll be covered in just a couple minutes. There's just one thing that Fowler is sure of, and that's one thing. The Minnesota Vikings, they likely can't afford keeping him. He already signed a 1-year prove-it deal for $20 million last season, and that's after holding out early in camp. Look at the Vikings cap situation. They're only 29 mil under. They don't want to sign him to long-term last year. And they have some other players to handle, most notably an extension from Justin Jefferson. And that's going to reset the wide receiver market for sure. And they also got to be mindful of bringing Kirk Cousins back into town. So what that deal is going to look like, I think it means that he's going elsewhere. And that could be here at Hallis Hall if it works for us. We're looking at adding him to a line opposite Sweat, maybe using our draft capital, whatever that ends up being. I think we're going to move around the draft quite a bit. It'd be really great to work a deal regardless of what we do to get some day 2 picks, get some second round picks. That would be fantastic. I think that's the main area of value in the draft. I think the second round is a fantastic spot, and we don't have a presence there right now. So you guys know all the scenarios right now. Maybe using our draft capital on exclusively offense, receiver, offensive line. That's the way to go. That might leave us with the need to get more pass rushing punch via free agency. And Hunter, he's a nice fit. He might be a good target if we choose to go that route. Those two wreaking havoc. Sweat and Hunter, their combined sack total would have been 29 last year. Also, this is not the first time he's been linked to the Bears. With the Chicago Tribune's Brad Biggs, he circled Hunter as a fit way back in last November, following our 12-10 win over the Vikings. Though Hunter will be 30 years old in the fall, he's shown no signs of slowing down, but it's the age that's the main deterrent on my book. So we're back with the big question. Do the Bears spend big at defensive end once again? Look at Sweat's contract. He'll count 25 mil against the cap in 2024. And Hunter, I think he'll be looking for a lucrative deal as well. Chicago is projected to have 49 million available in cap space heading into free agency. That's before those 2 veteran cuts. Add in more than 20 mil with the cuts. That's a ton of cash. Do we spend it on the defensive line once Hunter is added to the team? Is it wise? That's a ton of money to tie into the defensive line when we still have Jalen to sign, when we still have a center to find, when we still have so many holes still and our offensive line needs to be addressed. It's just thinking about what we address in free agency and what we address in the draft. Also, if we're going to take a swing at Hunter, maybe we should look at some of the other free agents available. And I think that starts with Josh Allen. He's the top edge defender that's available. He backed up a strong 2022. And let's go to this PFF story to kind of get some info on this. But if we're looking at Allen, he backed up a strong 2022 with an extraordinary 2023 season. He had career highs, quarterback pressures at 69 and sacks at 13.5. But I want to look at this most notably. It's coupled with a 20.1 pass rush win rate. That's among the league's best. And I think that's truly what we should look at when it comes to finding a free agent here. We look at edge Brian Burns. He's with Carolina. He can't seem to escape Carolina as the team turns down trade offers for him and consistently loses football games. But I think it's time that he's going to find a new home. He's on his way to a fourth straight pass rush grade of above 70, but keeping his stock high amid the chaos. That's something that he's still doing. But let's compare to Allen's pass rush win rate. Allen's at 20.1, and it looks like Brian Burns is at 11.2, so almost half as good. I don't think he's really our guy if we're going to spend the money on it. Let's look at Daniel Hunter that I just talked about. His pass rush win rate, man, that's hard to say fast, is at 15.4, a full 5 points below Allen. And I think they will cost very similar money when you're signing a guy. Hunter, he'll likely have other suitors, assuming he hits the open market. But given the Bears' needs and available cap space, he's certainly an intriguing option. But I think if you're going to take a big swing at a defensive end, I would prefer Allen. Now we've covered free agents like the top ones. Let's kind of look at what's available in the draft. We've got Dallas Turner. It looks like he's the cream of the crop from all prognosticators. He's at 6'4". He weighs 245. And also think about last year. Will Anderson, he commanded most of the attention on the other side, but he still had a phenomenal freshman debut for the Crimson Tide. He had serious pass rush potential, and he had 8.5 sacks. Now you go this year without Anderson. He still collected 53 tackles, 11 sacks, 15.5 tackles for a loss, and 2 forced fumbles. We're looking at him. He's fast. He's dangerous. He comes off the edge like a rocket, but he has some size limitations as a run defender for the NFL. He's 6'4" and 245, so that makes him just a little undersized. And then you compare him with Latu out of UCLA. He's a little bigger, 6'5", 265. I think he might even be a little heavier than that. He's projected at the first round too. I talked about him in yesterday's show. A lot of you guys were not in favor of him, mostly because he had the injury issues. He transferred to UCLA after Lake and his staff were let go. He then received medical clearance from UCLA to play, transferring over from Washington. And the results, they speak for themselves. He has been huge. We're talking elite pass rush numbers, elite sack numbers. He's strong. He's powerful off the edge, but so many people are worried about that injury case. And you know what? It doesn't make me happy as well. I think we can look back to a player, our own Eddie Jackson, when we drafted him. He had a huge knee issue. And a lot of people are saying, don't draft him, don't draft him, don't draft him. We went ahead and went with him as well. We trusted our doctors, and he ended up being a fantastic player off the edge for us and a very consistent player. And there is a world that we don't have to be concerned about this medical report. We have to trust our doctors. And if our doctors say he's good to go, I think he can be a steal. And we don't have to use the number 9 pick. We can bounce around in the draft, and he could, due to this medical concern, drop to the second. That is where the value would be with Latu. But I'm still not opposed to taking him early at number 9. We've also got Jared Verse. He's a beast. He's at 6'4", 251, coming out of Florida State. And hey, what a great guy to target. He runs well, he plays hard, he has impressive tools. However, scouts, they feel that he's raw. They feel that he's not naturally instinctive, so he needs some coaching up. I mean, these issues aren't surprising considering the huge jump in competition that he made for 2022. However, he still impressed this last season. He made a huge competition jump from 2022, and hey, he had a dominant performance. We've got some lesser options. These would be guys that target in possibly the second and the third round. We've got Chop Robinson out of Penn State. We've got a really, just from a pedigree standpoint, we've got a really intriguing guy at Jonah Ellis. You guys know his dad, Luther Ellis, from our friends over in Detroit. He's a pretty good guy. His projected round is 2 to 3. And I'll say he was one of college football's most dangerous pass rushers in 2023. He made a huge impact for Utah. Let's look at his numbers. He racked up 12 sacks, 37 tackles, a forced fumble, just steady pressure on the quarterback. He's a little undersized, but he's a little different in that. They say that he plays fantastically low. He has a low center of gravity. He dips under blockers while also helping with some huge functional strength, and that offsets his size issue. So I think if we're targeting a guy later in the draft, I think Jonah Ellis is a fantastic target, and he could be somebody that blossoms into a starter that we get for relatively cheap. And also, it doesn't have to be an absolute superstar at this point. We are playing them opposite Montez Sweat, and he accounts for a lot of like deficiencies with his dominance on the other side. We just need someone young, I think, someone a little cheaper. And I'm not so sure going the free agency route is the right way. I would much rather that we went free agent with a center, possibly even a safety prospect. I love the guy out of New York that I covered a few videos ago. And you guys let me know. I'm a little non-committal. I think my spot is if we can find somebody via free agency that's a little bit of a bargain. I don't want to pay top of the market because we don't want to have 50 million a year wrapped up in our defensive line. Sweat being paid is enough, but you guys let me know. I think we can come to terms on this. I think we can have a good conversation, and hey, it's a great off season. It's so good to be us. We have so many choices, and bear down. I'll see you.